Hey guys, Mark from Copy of the Class. Just going to be doing a quick video for you guys now, a recap of WWDC. Now we're going to kind of go into everything that they've announced today, including obviously iOS 7 and new Mac OS X, so let's get into it now. Okay guys, so what they've firstly announced is the brand new version of Mac OS. Now in the past they have been calling it things like mountain lion, you had snow leopard, lion, etc. They've had a very kind of feline theme, if you were. And obviously they've basically announced that they've run out of cats. So there was a big joke about Hello Kitty being the next one, or Garfield, but unfortunately they haven't really got anything left. So what they're going to start to do from today onwards for their newest iterations of Mac OS is going to be using things that represent California. Obviously California is the home of Apple, it's where everything started, and I think it's really cool that they're kind of going to be going down that route. So the first thing that Apple announced is Mac OS Maverick, which I think is a pretty cool name. You know, it's better than say Windows 7, or even better than some of their previous iterations using these cat names. Now the first thing that they have kind of announced, they've kind of gone through three main points. The first of which is going to be you can now kind of tag things within the Finder. So you can have down the sidebar there is a kind of section where you can add certain tags, so you can get to things more easily in terms of important documents, pictures, things like that, just to get things maybe really easy to kind of look around in things. They've also added a tabbed view as well, meaning that when you're in the Finder, instead of having multiple Finder windows open, which can sometimes be a bit hard to navigate around, you're now going to be able to compress everything with the press of a button into one Finder window. And then along the top it's going to have the tabs. So again, this is a real nice feature, really easy to use, and it's going to kind of make productivity a lot better and a lot quicker on Mac OS than maybe what it has been previously. They also announced multiple displays, which I think is really, really cool. What it's basically going to allow you to do is if you have an Apple TV and you can AirPlay your Mac to the TV, instead of just doing a complete mirror, you're going to be able to use your TV as a completely separate monitor. Now I think this is insanely good, obviously, because you mainly had to do this before with things like a Thunderbolt display, external displays, things like that. Whereas now if you've got a TV, you can use that as a second display. So you can have a full screen window open, for instance, showing iPhoto, which would fill the whole TV, and then on the actual Mac itself, or on your iMac or on your laptop, you're going to be able to have a completely separate window. Maybe for showing someone, for instance, holiday snaps, you can have maps up to kind of show where kind of you've been and then show the photos to go alongside that. Speaking of maps, we'll get onto that in just a minute as well. So I think that this is a really cool kind of thing that they've done to allow more users to have dual displays instead of having to shell out loads of money for a Thunderbolt display. Obviously, if you've got, for instance, I myself have a 32-inch TV in the lounge where we watch TV and where I play my Xbox and things, but I've also got a 19-inch TV that I don't use. And what I could set up right here next to my Mac and use AirPlay to have two monitors, which would be really good for me, really good for productivity, and I'm really looking forward to see how quick and easy that's going to be working. They've also announced some really cool CPU tricks that they're going to be doing as well, which is definitely going to help save battery power and also consume your CPU, so you can be using a lot of multiple things, and it's hopefully not going to slow down your computer as much. Obviously I've got a MacBook Pro 2012 model, and it is starting to show its age a bit when I'm in like Photoshop, iMovie, Chrome, all at the same time. Now obviously with, for instance, your CPU, you see spikes going up and down on your CPU of when it's using a lot, when it's not using as much power and things like that. But what you don't see is in between there, for the actual inclines, there's little tiny gaps where it kind of stutters along. Now what they're actually going to be doing is kind of compressing all those gaps into one, and it's actually going to increase your CPU by about 72% in terms of the activity. So, sorry, not increase, reduce by 72% for an average workload, which I think is really good. It's kind of going to have like an idle state where your CPU maybe isn't really doing anything until it knows it needs to do certain things. So for instance, when you're processing a movie, or when you know, using Photoshop and things like that, it's going to know exactly kind of when you're going to need it the most, and it's going to give you that power pretty much instantly, which is really good, really quick. And I think in terms of battery life as well, it's going to really help with the battery. Obviously if your CPU is doing less work, then obviously your battery is going to last a bit longer. So I think this is really good for the lifespan of a Mac. The next big improvement that they're going to be showing is Safari. They've really improved the look and the feel of Safari in terms of speed. I myself am a huge Chrome user. I use Chrome a lot more than what I do Safari, just for the fact that it's hooked up to my Android device in terms of bookmarks and things like that. So that's the main reason why I use it. But with Safari, what they're going to be doing now is they're going to be doing a really clean, really nice interface where your top sites are going to be all displayed on a nice grey background, and there's actually going to be a sidebar that comes out, and in that sidebar it's going to contain all your bookmarks, so you can click on your bookmarks straight away without having to kind of go through menus or get them along the top or anything like that. And it's also going to have things for your shared links. Now, shared links is a new thing they're going to be doing, where if you're following someone on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, things like that, and they post a link, then it's going to show up in that shared links folder or that kind of list, so you can get access to it really quick, really easy. They're also going to kind of update reading list. I myself don't really use it as much, but you can save articles to then read later. And what it's basically going to have, it's going to have the sidebar with all your reading lists, and then on the right it will have your web browser where you can actually view all that information. Now, what it's going to allow you to do, which I think is kind of cool, is go from reading list to list without clicking on the actual article. So it's going to have your list down the right, and if you just scroll, you can scroll infinitely through them, which I think is a really neat interface. Another cool thing that they announced is an update to notifications. Now, what this is going to allow you to do is get a lot more interaction with your notifications, and things like emails, you'll be able to reply or delete to an email straight from the notification. Things like a FaceTime call, you'll be able to kind of send a canned message in terms of, I'm busy right now, I'll call you later, things like that, which is really nice. And also when you close your laptop or put your laptop to sleep and then open it again, or just in general with Mac, it's going to kind of give you a list of some notifications that you've missed, which again is really handy. So there's a lot more interaction, a lot more in your face, which is kind of missing from notifications at the moment. I mean, if I look on my notifications now, I'll see some in there that maybe I've missed or they haven't come up at the top, which is kind of a bit annoying, but it's good that they're going to be changing it and kind of including all that within the app itself, which is really nice. A couple of updates to some actual applications themselves. Calendar has been wildly updated. There's free scrolling between months and years. You can just infinitely scroll. The leather effect has gone, and there was even a joke made saying that even without the leather stitching, it still stays on your screen and doesn't fall off, which I found quite hilarious. And also they've now introduced maps straight on your desktop. So the Apple Maps, which have had quite a lot of scrutiny in the past, and people have kind of said how bad or how good they are depending on what side of the fence you sit on, they're now going to be available with Mac OS Mavericks, which is really nice interface. Still going to have things like flyover, still going to recommend points of interest, and also when you're looking at things, it's going to bring up a nice card interface where it's got a little graphic of where you're looking. It's going to have reviews for restaurants, things like that. So the updates that they've done to the actual applications themselves, again, is really nice. They've also introduced iBooks for Mac as well. So obviously if you've got a big library in your iBooks on either your iPad or your iPhone or just in general your iOS device, you're going to be able to view and read those books directly on your laptop, which is really nice, gives a really nice clean interface. I'm not sure about reading books on a computer screen, it may be good. I can see it more being used maybe in schools with textbooks and things like that, because obviously if you've got an interactive textbook like you find on your iPad, it's going to be acting exactly the same as it does but on your Mac screen. So I think that's really nice that they're going to be having that on there as well. And also you can do things like take notes, highlight certain things here and there as well. So I think that's going to be a really nice interface. They've also changed the colour of the iBooks logo. Again, it's kind of got rid of some of that leather effect, so kind of orange logo now. Not sure how that's going to translate over to iOS 7, but we'll get onto that a bit later. And that's pretty much it on the Mac OS side of things. Like I say, the main points to pick up on: brand new naming system. It's going to be kind of California based, starting with OS Mavericks. There's been updates to notifications. The actual apps themselves have been updated in terms of Safari. You've got iBooks now. Obviously the calendar has been updated, and also now you've got maps right on your desktop as well. So that's real nice. What we're going to get onto next is we're going to be having a look at iOS 7 and have a look at the improvements that have been made there. But before we get on to the iOS 7 stuff, they have also announced a massive update to the MacBook Air. Now, it's going to have the brand new Haswell processor, which is really good for speed, also for battery life. Now, battery life is an insanely important thing for any laptop or Ultrabook user. Now, what the new processor is going to allow you to do is get up to 9 hours battery life on the 11-inch MacBook Air and 12 hours battery life on the 13-inch MacBook Air, which is nearly double what it was before if you're looking at previous figures. Flash is going to be 45% faster with the new processor, and it's going to have 3 times faster Wi-Fi because of the new there's going to be a new Airport Express base unit, which is going to be a lot smaller and taller than what it was previously. And it's also going to include a 2 or 3 terabyte hard drive, so it's going to kind of act as a external hard drive as well as the Airport Express, which is really nice. And it's going to allow support for 802.11a and C, so you're going to get up to 3 times internet speeds with this new browser, which is real nice. The pricing as well, the 11-inch MacBook Air, the pricing will stay roughly about the same, but you're going to get 128 gigabytes for the base model, and then 256 for the more expensive model. The 13-inch MacBook Air, the sizes of the hard drives will stay exactly the same, but there's $100 or pounds, if you were, taken off each of those models as well, which is really nice for the higher and the lower end. The MacBook Airs will also be available starting from today, which is really nice. Obviously, if you want to get into an Apple store as soon as you can, then you'll be able to pick one up straight away. Also, something that I didn't think would happen, they've actually announced a brand new product. Not necessarily brand new in terms of what it can do or anything, but a brand new design for the Mac Pro. A lot of people have been asking about a new Mac Pro for quite some time now, and pretty much every keynote for the last 2 or 3 years, people have been wanting a new Mac Pro to be announced. Now, this one is insanely powerful. It's going to be 3 times the speed of the one that is out currently now, 2 times the CPU performance, and it's going to have a hard drive that is 10 times faster than anything they've put in any other previous Mac. It's going to have 20 gigabit brand new Thunderbolt 2. It's going to have 2 times faster graphics performance, which is insanely good, and it's going to support 4K TV output or display output, and you can have up to 4 4K monitors plugged into this thing at any one time, and it will not slow down. It is insanely good. Now, obviously, what you're thinking now is it's going to be massive with all this stuff in it, but you'd be wrong. It is tiny. It is 1/8 the size of the Mac Pro that is out now. This thing is insanely small, and it is a cylinder shape. Now, what that allows you to do is the whole top of the cylinder, if you can imagine it, is a handle. So you can actually pick this thing up, take it where you need to, and get easy access to all the ports and things behind. Now, it also has built in a motion sensor, meaning that when you spin the thing around to get to the ports like HDMI, Thunderbolt 2, the back lights up so you can get access to everything you need. Now, it's going to be available later this year and has a price, and they haven't announced anything yet. But if you are one of the lucky ones to be at WWDC right now, you can actually get a hands-on look at it tomorrow, which is I think the 11th or the 12th of June. So again, really nice to see that. Again, I think personally it's going to be not kind of overpriced, but it's going to be very expensive. But I can't wait to have a look at it when it eventually does come out later on this year. Okay guys, so now on to iOS 7, and this is the best part, for my opinion, of the entire keynote. Now, what they've basically done, they've chucked away iOS and completely redesigned it. Now, you're still gonna have the grid display. They're not gonna come away from that. It's simple, it's easy, it is what Apple do. But what you are going to get is some really, really nice features that are brand new, and that just make the whole experience really nice. Basically, what's going to happen is the whole kind of phone is going to be one load of translucent displays on top of each other. So basically what's going to happen is if you open up your calendar, you're still going to slightly be able to see your background and your apps behind the calendar. So it's going to have like a real nice, not necessarily frosted glass effect, but kind of like that. So it's still going to be able to see behind you, still going to see the colours of your wallpaper and things. So every app is going to look different, basically dependent on your wallpaper. It's also going to use the accelerometer and the gyroscope within the phone so that it looks like your icons are floating on top of the wallpaper. So when you kind of moving the phone around, it'll almost look like a glassesless 3D display. That's kind of hard to say. So that looks really, really nice as well. All the apps have been completely redesigned, all the icons have been completely redesigned, and it's basically as if they've gone to the jailbreak community and said, we like what you're doing, we're going to use that in iOS 7, and that's kind of what they've done. Things like multitasking, it's not just a roll on the bottom, it fades out the wallpaper, it has an example of the actual app itself on one screen with the icons below it, a lot like the OXO jailbreak that you can get at the moment. And things like the actual applications, they've all been redesigned, the way they work and the way that everything functions. Things like Safari, when you're browsing up and down on the screen, it gets rid of all the bars on the bottom and the top, so it is a proper full screen experience, not just in landscape view but also in portrait, which is really nice. Everything's been completely redesigned, and we'll kind of go into it in a bit more detail to kind of give you an overview of the main points of iOS 7, which is Apple's brand new operating system. Okay guys, so a very quick overview of iOS 7. They didn't go into a whole load of detail, but basically what it's going to allow you to do is just get a brand new experience on your phone. Now, some of the things that they show off was if you are in a text message or within an email, you can actually swipe in from the left hand side to get back to your inbox, which is really, really nice. Notification center has been completely redone. It has a new today view where it kind of shows you upcoming events for the day or any notifications you've got, and you can also look at tomorrow as well, which is really nice. Notifications now available straight from the lock screen as well, which is really nice. You don't have to unlock your phone to get to the notification center at all, so that's really good there. And just in general, the whole overall kind of look and feel, and the design is extremely good. It's really quick, really fluid, and they've done a lot to improve the look and feel. Now obviously all the text and everything is really nice, all the menus are really simple, so it's a lot more of a simple effect. I'm not really sure how simpler iOS could be, but it looks really, really nice. iOS 7 is also going to do a lot of things in the background. Now what I mean by that is things like applications, things like your notifications, things like that, they're all going to be up to date as and when you need them. iOS 7 is going to be really intelligent in the way that it does this. Now obviously with things like Facebook, you're checking into that multiple times a day, checking into places, photos, etc. What it's going to do is going to kind of notice that pattern and update that app more frequently. So whereas now you go into Facebook, you have to pull down to refresh, it's already going to be there because it knows how you use that app. If for instance you're looking at a news website and you're looking at it maybe in the morning or in the evening, it's only going to update it during that time unless you actually go into the application itself, and it'll update it instantly, or you can pull down to refresh, things like that. So that's really nice the way that it does that as well. And it's also going to save a lot of battery as well, because it's not necessarily going to be running in the background, but it is going to update at certain times when it thinks that you're going to need it, which is really nice. Now one thing that it doesn't do at the moment, which it is now going to be doing with iOS 7, is it's going to update your apps when you get a notification. So if you get a notification from Instagram to say someone has liked your photo or commented on your photo, once you go into that app, it's going to be updated. You're not going to have to wait for it to update to then look at those notifications. So everything's going to be really quick, really simple, and really easy to use, which I think is a needed thing for iOS, because at the moment you kind of have to go in, refresh things here and there, or it may already be updated depending on how the app works. So again, that's a real nice feature they're going to be adding. They've also made some improvements to Safari as well, and just in general the way that it works. The bookmarks look a lot different in terms of the scrolling as well. It gets rid of all the junk menus and things that you don't need, and it also has the same sort of list as you get in OS Mavericks in terms of your reading list, your links and everything like that, which is really nice. Now one thing that is really good is something that they're calling Control Center, which is basically a swipe up from the bottom of the display, and it gives you basically toggles, which we've needed in iOS for a long time. So it's going to be giving you things like Wi-Fi, do not disturb mode. You can adjust the brightness straight away. There's also quick shortcuts for things that you may need in a hurry. So things like the calculator brings up an overlay, camera, use the kind of flash as a torch, and also music controls are all in there as well. Now the great thing about this is it has a very nice transparent effect, so you can still see what is behind it, but you're still going to be able to access all the controls. It's not going to look too cluttered, it looks really, really nice, and it's going to be available from anywhere in the phone. Just a quick swipe up from the bottom and you'll be able to get straight into Control Center. One really cool thing as well is they've updated the camera application, so it now actually includes 4 cameras in one. So you're going to have your standard video camera, you're going to have your normal photos, panorama mode, and then what they're calling square photo, which is basically a thing to get a photo ready for Instagram, in my opinion. Obviously you're also going to have a little button down in the right hand corner for live filters, again kind of Instagram, so you can save the photo as a square with a filter already on it and upload it to Instagram straight away. So again, that's really nice. And they've also redone the gallery application as well. They gave an example of obviously an iPhone at the moment has all the same kind of, when you're scrolling through your photos, there's thousands of photos sometimes, and you just have to scroll through them all to get to the one you want. Well, they're now going to be doing something called moments, and what this is going to allow you to do is your photo obviously geotags where you are. It gets taken at a certain time on a certain date. So it's going to kind of put everything into what they're calling moments, which is kind of not necessarily folders, but it gives a heading below or above the pictures, and is going to be really nice for organisation. You're going to have them all in a sidebar as well to kind of get access. So again, that's really nice. They're going to be kind of changing up the camera. They have also announced a brand new music player within iOS 7 as well. Now basically what this music player allows you to do is not only listen to your music or your music that you've got up in iCloud, but it also lets you use something brand new which is called iTunes Radio. Now the best way to think about this is Spotify made by Apple. It basically allows you to have multiple radio stations for things like classic rock or country music, or more specific things like if you want to have a Bruno Mars radio or play his songs and other bands or other artists like him. And again, really nice clean interface. I can't kind of overstate how much the iOS 7 interface looks beautiful. It does look insanely nice, and at the moment I haven't had a hands on, but pretty much the best looking UI for any mobile device at the moment. So again, really nice music interface, really nice iTunes Radio. Now pricing for iTunes Radio is going to be completely free with ad support. If you though are a iTunes Match subscriber, you're going to get iTunes Radio completely free of charge with no ads. So really nice, kind of, we're going to be incorporating all these services into one, and again, it looks really nice as well. Okay guys, so that wraps up the event for WWDC 2013. There's some real nice products coming out later on in the year, including iOS 7 and Mac Mavericks. So looking forward to all those coming out, and obviously here at Copy of Glass, we're having all the up-to-date videos of the new products as and when they're announced. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.